second.
Yeah, so since we spoke last week, I have started making the calls, but unfortunately I found out that for some reason nobody could hear me calling through the system. I don't know what's going on because I can do Zoom meetings, I can do Skype, I can do that. For some reason they couldn't hear me on the other end.
Okay, so you would have to go into your internet browser and set the microphone permissions for the CRM to use that as you have to set your primary microphone in your computer, period. You probably already got it set up in Zoom, but just not for the computer as a whole.
Okay, so then leading that to your other question. So once I figured that that wasn't working, I have been manually using my cell phone instead because there was no point because I couldn't talk to them through the system. But definitely something I want to do moving forward because as you can see, I'm not Sherry, I'm actually Allie. But I work with Sherry, so I get to use her agent locator, which is great. And I find it's better for me to use the system, of course, because me just sending an email to them being Allie, they're like, who the heck are you? This is weird, kind of a thing. So I like to keep in the system. And of course, why we use agent locator, I love the way it's set up. I love that we can keep track. You can also record your conversations. So it's great to also be working with Sherry that she can also go in and see, okay, Allie contacted this person instead of making that extra step of me, doing less conversations to Sherry being like, hey, no, I did contact this person. So kind of it saves that time for us.
So let's step back I have one question in regards to, are you working it as an inside salesperson or are you working it as the agent? Is Sherry giving you the leads to work? Or are you working
she's giving me the leads to work.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, currently that's how it's set up.
So how I am, I have leads coming into our team and I hand them out to the agents.
Okay.
So I'm the first point of contact and they're messaging in artificial intelligence with Raya and her name's Alex. So they always say Beverly's assistant, whatever. So they really don't know as far as names or whatever. You can just go in there and email as Sherry or go in as Sherry. But if you're doing it from your phone, or you're doing it outside externally, you can just act as Sherry's assistant. And that third party endorsement sometimes works really, really well.
Yeah.
Whenever you're calling and say, hey, we work as a team and blah, 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 right? I just want to make sure that a lot of agents can get hung up in that, who am I and who is the lead getting correspondence from? And you can just say, Allie or Sherry and I work together as a team. And I'm following up, checking in, and then just take it from there because at the end of the day, they don't care. They just want to know that you care. So how long have you been in the system making phone calls?
I started kind of, me and Sherry been working together since May, but I've only been using Agent Locator probably July.
Okay.
And so now we're just trying to, again, I didn't, just even from our last week of learning, we definitely learned a lot of things that I had no idea about Agent Locator because it was very new. So even just that little bit of time that we spent definitely helped me now navigate and definitely helped me moving forward. So I'm excited. Now, once I figure out the whole dilemma of my microphone, I'm going to go crazy with that.
Beautiful. So you have no fear of making the phone calls at all, it sounds like.
No, when I first started off in real estate, which is like about a year ago now, I was with a team that cold calling was like a big thing for us. So I'm actually not afraid of cold calling.
Yay. And this isn't really, I don't look at this as cold calling. This is just,
no,
they're a little warmed up. Right?
Yeah, no, this is nice because they've reached out to me first, so it feels good. So you got a little bit of, you're like, okay, I know you're coming to me now.
Ammo. Yeah,
let's finesse them.
No, it's coming.
Yeah,
we got the ammo.
Exactly.
So, in perspective of today, what do you want to walk away with? You go, wow, that was an hour well spent. What is most important for you to walk away with today?
I think for me, a big thing, and I can, of course, I'm new and I'm not one of those new people that just thinks I know everything. I don't know everything. So I want to take in and sponge in as much as I can and learn from the best. And I think my thing is, because I have been reaching out. I do contact leads. I think it's maybe I'm doing something wrong because I don't feel like I'm getting enough back, or they're like, oh no, because I know we're trying, when we talk to them, try to get yeses, not nos, and all that kind of stuff. But maybe if there's something you guys can, even if writing an email, what are some key things? Like maybe even I kind of struggle sometimes with like the subject line because I want them to open the email. That kind of thing is probably what I would like to take away from this, and just utilize Agent Locator the best.
To its highest and best, absolutely. Now, Crystal, do they have a new lead campaign turned on in this one? Or are they getting text message and emailed out of the gate?
Yeah, I believe so, right? Allie, yeah.
So all of that can be automated as long as you're paying attention. So the one thing that I want to make certain of is, if you're the one in the system making the phone calls and you're the one initiating correspondence, how is that coming back? Who are the emails coming back to? Where is that coming to, and where the text message is coming back to?
So a lot of it's all set up for Sherry. So Sherry, as much, I know it's not ideal, but she doesn't mind, and I'm okay with it. It does go to her first, unless I am like, I have her login. So I do log on when I'm working with that. But if it's off hours or I'm not on my computer, then I don't know what's happening. And she will either text me or email me, forward me all the info.
Perfect. So you guys are in sync with that piece.
Yes.
Perfect. Because that's always one of those misnomers where you go in there and work it, and then the other person's completely oblivious, and then you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. And what's really great is she lets me take the lead on it. So she doesn't message them, and then it's like we're double messaging or kind of annoying in that way. She lets me know. And then our system's set up where I let her know everyone I've talked to. I even put it in the notes whenever I talk, send a text, email. So we try to stay organized that way.
Beautiful. You're gonna have a lot of people that are like, can you come on my team? It's a very wanted commodity. Like people don't have this ability. I'm going to share my screen real quick because I just want to make sure and double check that you are aware of how correspondence comes in.
Okay.
Let me just widen my screen here. Okay. So when texting, when you're on the computer and you're working it from a desktop, if you're doing any type of texting or anybody calls back or any correspondence is going on, you're always going to know up in these little bubbles. Mm-hmm. So have you seen that with emails and with texting?
Yes.
Perfect. So my suggestion always is, if you want to do anything proactive by doing a mass text or a mass email, do it as soon as you sit down. And then that way, while you're in there, if you're making your phone calls, you can be double checking and being responsive of what's happening at that time.
Okay. Then
that way it's kind of eliminating, oh, I send the text messages out, I close up my computer and I go out and about, and then 10 people respond. I'm like, oh, frick, I didn't even get a chance to respond to it. Perfect. Now, as far as this is really what's changed in regards to how I have been training over the last a lot of years, because technology is definitely not working to our benefit.
Okay.
When phone calls are showing up on people's cell phones, there's more coming up as spam, they're coming up as the location, and people are just not answering their phone anymore. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many bogus phone calls that are coming through. They're like, nope, I don't know, I'm not answering it. And it's much more difficult to get engagement with the leads via phone call. So even though I still keep it a big part of my practice in making the phone calls, my goal is 6 to 8 attempts in the first 2 weeks.
Okay. And
with those attempts, changing the time frame of those 6 to 8 attempts, 2 to 3 should be morning, 2 to 3 should be early afternoon, late evening, early evening. So just always changing it up so that when you open that profile and you're like this morning, I just went in and called leads. The last 2 dials that I made to the people was 11:15-ish and 4:15-ish. And I was in dialing at 8:45 this morning.
Okay.
So out of 15 phone calls, I go to hold of 2 people that I've already called 2 times, right? So the whole efficiency model is we're increasing our chances of them picking up the phone if we're catching them at different times. And right, you're in different moods at every time of the day, right?
Mhm.
And there's some days where you're like, frick it, I'll just pick up the phone, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just hear it is. Especially if the same number is coming up repetitively. The other thing that I'm noticing with habits, because I have leads coming in from 2 different sources, I have automation going on with one phone number and phone calls going on with another phone number. So they can be very responsive with the texting of the one phone number, but when I try calling from the other phone number, it's crickets.
Mhm.
Multiple phone numbers is sometimes a really fun game to play if you're willing to track it.
Mhm.
So my suggestion, out of those attempts of the first 2 weeks, take one attempt and still do a manual dial if you have that local number, because it will show up differently on their phone. And I don't know what the system that I'm using, they have it connected where we've partnered with somebody that shows, it's supposed to show up our team name on their phone. I don't know, but sometimes people say that it comes up as, it just says spam risk on the phone. And today it's so easy for people to block phone numbers that and you can recognize it on the dialer because it'll just automatically, like, if you call somebody like 3 or 4 times and it's ringing, then it goes to voicemail, and then all of a sudden you call them, it's just like, it's dead ends, like it just disconnects. They've probably blocked you. And that gets really frustrating. So it's that attempt of the land, sea, and air. Like back in the day, it used to be the door knocking, the mailing, and the calling, where now it's the texting, the emailing, and the calling. And taking that text message to a different level, because everybody is aware of artificial intelligence now. And there's a lot of people that are onto it. And they will actually text back, testing it to see if it's artificial intelligence. So if you can send a text message that is a video, a 15-second video. Hey, this is Beverly. I am a person on the other end. I was just checking in on your home search. Do you plan on buying a home this year? And making that connection and putting a face to it. There's something there that it builds that connection because it's a face-to-face. And the unfortunate thing in this business is nobody's going to do business with you because you're loyal or because you're great. They're only going to do business because you're convenient. And the quicker we can get over that, the more successful we'll be. Because it's very difficult to not take this personally. It's very difficult to not take it personally. You're like, I showed you a property and I sent you all these emails and then you ghost on me. I never hear back from you. And I will continue to call and I will continue to call. So another piece of this is making sure that who you're following up with is worth your time, energy, and effort. Because man, we want to task everything because we can have potential in everybody. I had a lady literally text back. She's literally homeless. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm not so-and-so, but I am homeless. And what did she say? She goes, I believe there's blessings in everything. And I think you can help me. I'm like, oh my Lord Jesus, right? And I'm like, my heart so wanted to go and help her, but I'm like, I can't do this. I cannot get personally connected, right? So we really have to be careful and guard our time with those that we want to set up the reminders. Because what happens when we have our call filters set up, we can jump into the system and we can go, okay, I just pulled out of a couple hundred leads, 29 leads that are actively engaged with the listings over the last 30 days that you hopefully haven't spoke to, because I pulled the pipeline stages before contacted. So priority wise, I can go in here and I can whip through 29 phone calls in half hour, 45 minutes, depending on who answers the phone and how many answer the phone, right? But when I'm doing tasks and follow-up, it's a little bit more intuitive or a little bit more time consuming, because you literally have to read the notes and think about what you're going to be saying and think about the follow-up. Is there something I need to be doing? So when we have a conversation, not being attached to the outcome, but really truly being attached to finding out where they are in the process. And the best line that can ever be used with every conversation is, what can I be doing for you now to earn your business? What is most helpful for you right now while you're in the process? I just want the ability to earn your business. When can I follow up with you? Now, where it gets sticky is they'll say October. I check in, I make a phone call. They don't answer the phone. Hey, Crystal, it's Beverly, just checking in. I talked to you a few weeks ago. Just wanted to see how you were doing. If you have any questions about the market, I'm not in a hurry. I'm here when you're ready. I'll check in with you again in a couple of weeks. Every phone call set the expectation. I take turns on the follow-ups with sending text messages. Hey, just left your voicemail. Just wanted you to know I'm checking in. Hope you're having a great day. I give that, depending on the very first initial conversation, I will follow up 3 to 4 times, different times of the day. Also following up with text messages. Yesterday, I followed up, and I'm going to give an example because this is alive and living. Alberta, she is in a lease until May. I just talked to her a few weeks ago. And she said, yes, I want to be buying. I want to talk to a lender to see what my opportunities are going to be and what I need to prepare for. I lined her up with my lender. She did not take the call and she did not respond. So I sent out an email and I say, this is what I'm going to do, Alberta. I'm going to send out an email introducing you to my lender, and I'm going to CC him on the email. The email is going to go out. You will have all of his information. There's also going to be an application online that you can just fill out whenever you're ready. He will be calling you to contact you, but you all have each other's information. Whenever it's comfortable for you, you have that conversation. I set a task to follow up with the lender. Did you communicate? Hey, Mr. Lender, did you talk to Alberta? Nope, she ghosted. I call, leave a message. I call a couple of days later. She answers the phone. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so busy. She says, oh, but my fiance and I are going to be buying together now. Great. Now we really need to talk to a lender to see what's going on. Alberta, is it too soon for you to talk to the lender now? Because I know your lease isn't up until May. I only took good notes. That's all I know, right? And she goes, no, have him call me. That would be great. No answer. Literally 4 phone calls, 4 attempts. And my note said, did she block me? Because it kept going right to voicemail, kept going right to voicemail. And I'm like, what the frick? Yesterday, Alberta, she answered the phone. I said, what do you do? And this is Beverly. I said, are you dodging my calls? She's like, oh my God, no. She said, I am so sorry. She goes, I have just been crazy busy. And I said, let me ask you, I don't want to be bothering you if you don't want to be bothered. On a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about buying in the next 3 months? She goes, a 5. I said, okay, that's fair. I said, so what do you want me to do right now? I said, how do you want me to follow up with you? And she said, honestly, I still do want to talk to the lender. I want to know. She goes, oh, and by the way, my sister, she's the manager of the IHOP over here and blah, blah, blah. She goes, she wants to buy too. Can I give you her name and phone number? Sure. And I will tell you what happened on every single phone call attempt I made. Oh God, Alberta. You know what? I get 18 more. I shouldn't call her. I'm sitting here thinking about this too long. Click, and I call her. I spend more energy trying to talk myself out of why I shouldn't call her, because, oh my God. And I tell myself every story of why she does not want my business, why she's not going to answer the phone, why she doesn't want to hear from me. But in reality, after I've been doing this since 2008, and I right now am learning just in these last couple of months that there is no call that is ever a waste of time. And my mission right now, I'm great at the real quick turnarounds, right? So we can get on these webinars, we can whip through some phone calls, I can tee stuff up easily. But where is it in 2 months later, and 3 months later, and 4 months later, with these people that are in leases until May, that do have bad credit, that are credit challenged, that are possibly relocating? I'm taking on that challenge of upping my game to increase my conversion ratios even beyond the right nows. However, we have to be very careful with who we are always following up with, because we can get really lost in, when we look at 19 tasks, we literally have to put ourselves in a mindset of one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. And when are we going to move them back? If they're actively engaged in looking at properties and they're not taking the phone call, pull them out of the reminders and the tasks and the follow-ups and move them back to your tried to contact, because that will then throw them back into your filters. And the most important piece of that is when you put somebody back into the tried to contact after you've talked to them, make sure in this lead description that you have in there, ghosted on me, moved back to try to contact. Then that way you're eliminating tasks of people that haven't picked up the phone or responded to text and just ghosted on you. They're just falling through as your 23 seconds. Does that make sense? Is that helpful on kind of that process of setting your reminders and following up and understanding that piece?
I find it helpful, and we do. So it's a great topic as well, because and I think we might have done it with Ali, is I create the follow-up filters for them. So it's just a mindless act. They're falling in there every day. But yes, you get into that point where you're following up, and every time they're following, if it's a weekly follow-up, for example, and they're not answering, well, now we need to scale that up again, right? So we need to, it's a good recommendation to take them out of there, put them back in the tried to contact, so they fall into their second follow-up filter, or trying to initially get a connection with the lead. So then they're doing it, a lot more frequent rather than just the once a week and still not getting any results.
Yeah. And I like to be very real on the phone with them. So I just moved a lady back, and this is a real story. Kenya is her name. I talked to her. She was looking for a property. She wanted to be in the 300s. She was living as a home health nurse in a property that she was taking care of the lady. And I don't know the dynamics, but she was needing to move on. I think the lady died or something. I don't know. Her fiance just sold his home in Indiana, and he was going to be buying the house cash. So she was going to be moving in with him. He was in the 500 range. She's in the 300 range. I never spoke to him. I've only spoke to her. There was one home they wanted to see. It was like 350,000. She had her mind set on it. I got her parameter. She was a little bit broad in her parameter. Set her up with my buyer agent that is a closer. He's never not closed something that I've teed up for him. So I know it's not on him. He met her at the property. The lady FaceTime with her fiance going through the property. There are already offers coming in on the property. I called the lady back at noonish and I said, hey, I just wanted to follow up and check in. Are you looking at possibly writing an offer on this property? I don't want to push you. That's not my intention. However, there are other offers coming in and we need to have the offer in by 5 o'clock if you wanted to write on this. And she goes, I'm still discussing with my fiance. He told me that he didn't see my sparkle in my eyes when I looked through the property because it needed some updating that I wasn't expecting. I said, that's fine. When can I expect to hear back from you? She goes, after 1 o'clock today or something like that. I said, okay, great. 4 o'clock comes and goes, haven't heard back from her. Call her at 4 o'clock, no answer. Call her the next morning, no answer. David calls her, no answer. I text her, I send her emails. The next day she's like, oh, Bev, I'm so sorry. I said, I literally went through 2 batches of emails, sent her this, sent her that, went through, pulled out a bunch of listings. She never opened one email. In my automation of my other text number that reaches out, hey, just wonder if you ever found a property. I'm currently working with another agent. I'm like, what? Now, because of the confusion, right? That's David's assistant. I'm Beverly. She met David. Maybe she's a little confused on who she's working with. 5 phone calls, 3 text messages. I have not heard back from her at all. And I did. I'm like, hey, I said, I just wanted to check in. I'm being real, right? I just want to check in. I got a text that you were working with another agent. Is that me? Is that David? Or did we do something wrong? Can you please let me know if we did something wrong so we can be better? And still nothing. So I moved her back into that try to contact stage because I'm not going to keep continuing chasing her. And I put has agent, right? We have to know when to cut it off. But I do want to call her again because I want to know, what did we do wrong? And that's where I could have shut down that day and went, oh my God, because in that day, we had a contract fall through. In that day, I'm talking to 2 other people that champagne taste beer budget. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I calling leads? Why am I freaking paying for these leads? Because they suck. They just ditch you anyway. And I know that there's no agent out there as diligent as what I am in giving them, meeting their needs, following up with them. I know that they're not getting that service anywhere else. So we have a choice to be able to decide, do we keep going? Because there are other people that do appreciate what we do. It's only our mind that gets in our way that we take it personally because we can't change what other people are going to do. Does it hurt? Does it sting? Does it suck? Yeah. Do we feel like we've wasted time? Yeah. But did we get to see a property? Yes. Did we learn how many offers were on that property? Yes. Did it help us learn about our market? Yes. There's always a win. So that follow up, that nurture, we have to be able to get past any mind game that comes into our mind. And I just want everybody to know that it happens to me every phone call. I'm always in my head, but I have to make that conscious choice to say, no, I got to keep going. No, I got to keep going. Because leads do suck. Buyers suck. Buyers are liars. I mean, it is what it is. But what are we going to choose to believe? Because I believe that there are so many buyers that are led down the wrong path because agents aren't really knowledgeable in negotiating with their money. And I just want to save you. So my obsessiveness of calling people, I don't care if you say I've called you too much, because the ones that get it are going to appreciate it. I'm like, oh my God, like you're on it. Nobody else has ever called me like that. And we have to remember that and be mindful of that if they are also working with another agent. Because I can guarantee you those agents aren't calling them to check in to see if they found a property or if they've needed help. So this is a market where we're really able to move in, and I don't want to say stealing buyers from other agents, but if you haven't done your job in explaining to the client what is going on in the industry and building that value and that trust and that commodity, and you're not engaged with them constantly, you do have a chance of losing them because it's a tough market. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Allie, what would you like me to do? Do you want me to make some phone calls? Is there any objections that you've been hearing lately? What do you want me to do from now? I can do some follow-up nurtures. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, we could do some calls. I mean, I'm open to hear how you kind of make a call and what you say. It's always kind of cool to see that.
See what we can make happen. That was a weird connection. Like I didn't hear. There we go. It's a little laggy. My phone connections have been horrible today too. So Allie, if you haven't seen the way that I've dialed before, my rule of thumb, 4 rings, 23 seconds, because I'm looking for the person that's going to answer the phone.
Okay.
If you're the one in here dialing, Crystal, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think it should be your number that's in here, because when you're in here dialing, if they call back, it's going to be calling Sherry.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if we talked about that briefly or not, but when you're making calls that day, is just to go into the profile in the user preferences, and then you just switch the cell phone number to your cell phone number.
Okay.
And then that way, when you're dialing out or making your calls, if people are calling back, you're getting that call back. It's not going to catch Sherry off guard. And she's like, I just called someone. I hear it all the time when people get caught off guard. And
Okay.
it's very
I didn't
awkward.
know that was a thing I could do. So that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So up in the user preferences, where you would change like her email address, all that fun stuff.
Okay.
And change the cell phone number. That's what Twilio is forwarding to, is the cell phone number there.
Yep. And then that way the text would come back to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always switch it back and forth if you need to. But with the 23 seconds, if you think about someone answering their cell phone, if they don't get to it within 4 rings, they're going to be annoyed by the time they do answer it.
Okay.
And it creates more callbacks. And the callbacks are awesome. So all you say on the callback is they say 2 things. They call and they say nothing.
Okay.
Like phone etiquette has gone out the window. Like I call people and they just like pick up the phone. I'm like, hello. But usually when they call back, they'll say, you just called me, or I just missed a call from this number.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything other than, oh yeah, I'm making some phone calls. You must have been online looking at some homes. And then just go from there. I got hung up on today once because and she's like, oh, hey, how are you? And I said, I'm great. I said, just checking in. You were online looking at homes. She said, oh yeah, click. And then
Yeah.
I follow up with a text. Sorry, I lost ya.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know if you were looking to make a purchase in the future. That is probably a bad number.
Yeah. And I guess while I have you as well, maybe for ones, because I find a lot of them when they put a bad number or fake number and the email's good, how would you go about, maybe if you could show me like an email you would send, or going the email route when you don't have much information?
Bad phone number campaign.
She should have that in there. If you check at the e-campaigns, there should be. If not, we can add it in for. Just start typing bad and see if it pops up.
Okay.
No.
All right.
So we can add that in. So basically, when you have the bad number, of course, you're marking your phone number as invalid, and then you would just throw that person on the bad number campaign, which is a series of emails that are built to get that lead to respond essentially with a phone number, or that's the goal anyway.
Okay.
Because they're going to get prompted to give you a valid phone number if they look at the listing.
Okay. Yeah,
And-
that I didn't know. Thank you.
And what I do is, I do it this way because I usually don't have a local number if I'm in someone else's site dialing. I make that note 3 times. If it disconnects 3 times, then I apply a bad phone number to it. If you're making your own calls and you have a local number, try it with your direct phone and
Okay.
then confirm it as a bad number. And it's always best to do that like first out of the gate. I used to, on every dial, the very first dial, let it go the whole way to voicemail to determine, is it Thiva on the voicemail? Is it a different name on the voicemail? So that very first call, you can really detect a lot of things.
Mhm.
So even if it rings and rings and rings and rings and doesn't go anywhere, I would do a manual dial.
Okay.
Because if 30% of your numbers are going to be invalid numbers, if you're calling 50 people and 15 of them are bad numbers, times 23 seconds, that's a lot of wasted time.
Mhm.
The people that you never get in touch with. So I like to eliminate the bad phone numbers as quickly as possible. But the emails, and I don't know what campaign you all have in there, but the emails, I like to have it set up where you can put in the autofill where it says, hey, I tried calling you at phone number. Is there another number I couldn't reach you, or something like that?
Okay.
Because sometimes it's a typo and you can get a response. And going that extra mile with your bad phone number people, the biggest majority of all agents trash bad phone numbers. So if you're working the bad phone numbers, you have a higher chance of converting them because they're not getting worked. Because if they're a bad phone number in your system and it's not just a typo, chances are they're a bad phone number in everyone's and no one else is working them. So you have less competition with the bad phone number people.
Okay.
And she should have it now. I just added all the campaigns. So she should, if the next one or get the next one, the bad number campaign should be there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, use quick there, Crystal.
Button.
There you are.
Magic.
Yeah, that's all you do. And then assign it and boom, it's out.
Okay. Amazing.
Now, people that are on here that don't have it, I'm like, Crystal, add it to mine, add it to mine.
Yeah, just send an email to support just saying, hey, I want the bad number campaign added. There's several campaigns that with the click of a button just load into your system. That's a new thing. So we haven't been holding a secret from y'all. It's really new that we can do that.
So yeah, once you get a system going, to get through 29 leads at 23 seconds a dial,
Yeah.
it doesn't take long. And if your automation's going on for that first 2 weeks, that's really all you have to worry about. And then your older leads, you can just say, you can send a text message and just say, hey, looking over my notes, just wondering if you've purchased anything yet. Just wondering if you've purchased a home yet, and see if you can re-engage them. I like to be very intentional with my texting, with my emailing. I'm not a huge fan of a drip campaign because I never know when the next text or email is going to fire off and if I can be responsive or not. And there ain't nobody answering the phone in Mississauga today.
Dry over here.
Everybody's busy. What's the fall weather like there?
I mean, today.
Hello, Aruna.
Hi, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm great. This is Beverly doing a quick check-in. It looks like you were online looking at some homes in Mississauga.
Yeah, I already found a place.
You did, were you looking for rent or for purchase?
Rent.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much. Congrats.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. So I just want to confirm that because I saw this.
Yeah, no, that's good. Usually I check that before making a call.
Yep.
Like, there's it.
But now what you can do is tag her as a renter,
Okay.
and there's future potential because now you know when she found a rental. So if she's just signed a lease in October,
Mhm.
potentially you could set a reminder to check in with her. Let's see, October, September, August.
The 6 months check-in tag on her. 6 months.
Yep. I would check in with her and say, hey, I know that, last October you had found a rental. Are you thinking about making a purchase? And I'll put just found a rental. So we contacted. So I would tag her. Oh, look, yay. And 6 month check-in. So you have a filter set up for her? Yep. So what I would do in this instance, this is my favorite box. Because if she's very active and you have all the notes and everything on here, these notes can get buried and they're cumbersome to try to look through. So if you have the most important description right here, when you go to do that follow-up, you know exactly what to say.
Mhm.
So I'll leave it. So just remember Aruna.
Mhm.
For sake of time, what I would do is type in here exactly what you want to say to her when you make that phone call. And that way you're taking all the thought process out of it. Because what happens, we get in those modes right now. She was super sweet and we're like, oh, she was so sweet. I would love to sell our house next year.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught up in setting that follow-up. But then when the follow-up comes up, you're like, oh, God, why did I set this? Why am I doing this? So if you're very specific with your moment, it is extremely helpful to prevent yourself from talking yourself out of it. Can you tell I do a lot of that?
Yeah.
I'm innately lazy. I don't want to work. If I can talk myself out of doing something, I will talk myself out of doing it. Oh, but then wait, I want to convert. And I'm the same way with tasks. I get very definitive in the tasks, and I'm going to show you the trick real quick. Dialer. For you, so you know. So whenever you're doing your tasks, whatever you put in the title
Mhm.
is what is going to show up on your calendar whenever you view it. And if you can get into the habit of checking this calendar like you check your text messages, you will never, ever have a lead left behind.
Okay.
Because whatever you put in that description of what you need to do, lease is up, blah, 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 whatever. Moving here and whatever. So be very descriptive so that when it pops up here, you know exactly what you're doing. And this is even where if it's something that Sherry needs to do or something you need to do, you can even put the name of who needs to do the follow-up in here as well. Then that way you're not waiting, nobody's wasting time on opening this and opening that, and be very descriptive.
Okay.
There we go. Tatiana. Just when I said nobody was answering the phone, she picked up. I still let this go 23 seconds because even though we don't hear the ringing on our end, there's probably something happening on the other end. It's just a wonky connection. Do you have any questions while we're plugging through?
So far, so good. I like that I learned, of course, the whole e-campaign, kind of like, I'm writing as many notes as I can.
My most important objective in making the initial calls is finding out where they are in the process.
You have reached the voicemail box of.
I
didn't hear that. Yeah.
It might have been Justin. I don't know. But it's asking the questions that are going to get me the results that I need to know what to do with the lead after I get off the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Without over explaining who I am. It's, hey, Pat, this is Beverly. I saw you were online looking at homes. Not active. So where did this lead come from?
Scroll down, it should tell you the source. Oh, it won't tell you the source because it's blurred out. They're not getting listings, which means that they probably came onto the branded site. Does it say what kind of lead type it is? Does it say it's a seller lead? That's what that one is.
Is she generating seller leads?
That would, no, they're not running campaigns. That would be someone that went to her branded website and filled out likely the home value, like the homeworth page or something.
Would it tell us in the notes section?
It should normally. Why they registered. Yeah, so that one that's blurred is telling all the price points of the houses. Yeah, so that's a seller lead.
Okay. Allie, have you called seller leads?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
No.
it's perfect that this has come up.
Okay.
So you can kind of tell that I'm like so keen to detail because we only have seconds when we make that first initial connection when they pick up the phone, because all they're thinking is, who the hell is this person? I don't know. Do I want to have this conversation or do I want to hang up? They're not really hearing anything that you're saying.
Okay.
So those key indicators of this particular one, I'm not going to call it because I can't target my conversation directly to what they did online. My intention is when Pat would pick up the phone, hey, I saw you were online and you were interested in knowing the value of 123 Main Street. That's probably, if it's a seller lead, they were just wondering what the values are out there or market, like what's going on with the market.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. I can't remember I'd have to go back in our text messages. It might have been because Sherry did have a property listed. And I think it might be someone that she talked to and they went through the website. I think it's kind of ringing a bell. It might be someone that she's contacted and know what's going on, but I can find out more.
Okay, that would be a question for her.
Yeah.
But this is a really good opportunity to really be able to understand and recognize where leads might be coming from and being able to quickly identify whenever they pick up the phone, you were on Facebook looking at our ad, or you were on Facebook, you clicked on a sponsored ad, or you were on Google looking at homes, right? Because when we identify with what they did, they're like, oh, caught, right? Like, oh yeah, I was.
Yeah.
So it lends to that conversation more than, hey, this is Beverly with blah, blah, blah real estate team and website. And they're like, who are you? None of that matters. What matters is, what is your intention?
Mm-hmm.
You were online looking at homes in Mississauga. You were online wondering what the market value was of a property. What were you looking for? What is your current situation? How can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you find what you were looking for? And finding out, well, what are your future plans? Because we get a lot of just looking.
Mm-hmm.
Great. If you were to make that move in the future, do you have a guesstimate of when that time frame would be? And it's amazing how many people will go December, and you're like, okay, well, now it's time to start. But they, in their minds, conceptually think it's too soon. So that's where finding out where they are in the process is so key, and what is the reason that they would make a move in the future if they were to make a move.
And sorry to interrupt, Sherry actually texted me, and Nolene, who he tried calling her back.
Great. She didn't answer it?
She didn't answer it. She said she also missed 3 calls, and she goes, maybe from your calls today, question mark. So I definitely just switched, like you said, the account for the numbers.
Yep.
But I'll ask her if she.
And that's all we ever want is our phone to ring. Yay! How easy is it for your phone to ring, right?
Yeah. That's exciting. But yes, she definitely confirmed that it was Nolene who called her back, but she didn't answer.
Well, I wonder, I can't see her name. I would try when we get done here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her a
I would
call.
try calling her
Yeah.
back and say, oh God. And then if she doesn't answer, send her a text. Phone tag, so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
You
just
can do
checking in.
the filter too of last call result is in, lead called in.
Okay.
And then that will automatically pull up all the leads that have called in. And like, you can go like today or what have you, right? So
Okay.
Is that, you said it was in the custom filter?
no, it's in like a normal filter. You'd create that filter.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the last call result.
That's awesome. 4 phone calls. And we've made, let me see, I'm on 9 of 27, but we were on 29. So I think we've made about 11 dials.
Yeah, I actually called someone before coming on with you guys, and she actually called me back, and I talked to her, set her up for automatic email. So it's that was a positive so far day.
Perfect. Yeah, very exciting. And you brought up something that I wanted to mention as well. I never go in and tweak searches until I have a conversation with somebody, because no one.
You have reached the voicemail box of
What is it with people that talk with marbles in their mouth? I don't understand. That's your voicemail.
Maybe it's a new thing. It's like, I call them the mumbling rappers. It just kind of like, they just like all the words just kind of go into
Mumbling
another word.
Oh my
Like now
God.
they're doing it with voicemail.
And I still do call leads and unsubscribe, because they may have gotten emails that didn't fit their criteria. Because what happens is when they're online, they may be looking outside of their league, and the search remembers what they looked at, and it's sending them $2 million properties, and they're only at like 800,000. They're like, this ain't for me, because they have no idea that it's automated.
Well, they could go change it, but the average person doesn't navigate and click through sites to figure that out, right? They just unsubscribe. That's the easiest option.
And I just cannot believe how many people,
you have reached mailbox number 6.
I just can't believe how many people don't understand this process. Like it befuddles me that there's that many people online giving their information, and they're still surprised that they're getting a phone call.
Yeah.
Or even, what is even worse is my realtor.com leads. Real estate agents asking, thinking it's the listing agent. I just had one yesterday. She's like, I tried calling her, and she's like, hey, this is a real estate agent, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why are you asking me if this property is FHA approved? Like, I said, I just tried calling you. I'm not the listing agent. Do you not have access to the MLS? No, I don't have access to the MLS. How are you a real estate agent and not have access to the MLS? I don't understand.
It's probably licensed, but maybe not registered under a specific board
I don't
or
know.
something. I don't know. We have a question in the chat here from Janet. She says that you don't tweak the searches to conversation, but sometimes the default search finds 100 matches and the search stops. Not very useful. I've started changing those in order to make results more useful. So how do you, so basically what, if I'm saying you're coming to the conclusion yourself that that's not useful for somebody without actually talking to them.
Mhm. Because their sister may be a real estate agent. They may be a real estate agent.
Well, like our searches were set up and they've switched it back, I think. So originally we would put it at a lower price point. And then that was to help reduce some of the leases in the results, essentially.
Mhm.
And then, or vacant land and things like that. So then if the lead doesn't actually go online and modify that criteria, that's what their criteria be set at, like 250K plus and like everything, right? And sometimes you'll see people looking all over the place in different price points, and sometimes they're in a generalized price point. But that's now it is in the next release, changing back to the way it was. So it's going to be more reflective of what they're looking for. But yeah, so it's like if you're just doing a quick tweak to the price point based on the average that they see on the homepage, then, you know, if you're spending less than 30 seconds, by all means. But if you're sitting there, or even while the phone is dialing, make that adjustment. So you're not, you know, spending a minute now, you're just spending 23 seconds.
Well,
jumping into
right. And that's what I do, right? If I have to go in and tweak anything, is while that phone is ringing, you have a separate box open, go and tweak that search while it's ringing, and just let it ring the whole way to voicemail. And then just hang it up if they don't answer. But definitely try to do, if you're going to spend time on a lead that you haven't spoke to, try to incorporate it into not spending a ton of time with it, because you don't know who you're setting that up for.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
yeah,
exactly. It could be an
there's no
investor
right
that
way
was
or wrong
happy to
way.
get those little ones, right? They could have been like, look, and they didn't tweak it because they want to receive everything. And reality is that it's not going to be hitting 250 unless you live, I don't know where. Not anywhere in Canada for the most part, where you're going to be getting houses for 250,000. It's always going to be whatever that location, the norm is, like the lowest price point for that type.
Yep. So hopefully that was helpful.
Perfecto. Does anyone have any more questions before we go here? Sherry, anyone watching?
There's one it's anonymous in the Q&A. Maybe it's a good idea that people who signed up get a message that agent will reach out for a one-on-one consultation. And that's really what the automation is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that text message goes out and basically says, hey, how can I help you?
I would almost do a split test on that. Like, let's say you're 15 leads, you send that message out, and then the other 15 you keep it where you're not saying that we're going to be calling you, and then see what the answer rate is or how quick it is to get a hold of those where you told them I'm going to call versus those I haven't.
Well, my very first text message says, we'll be calling you as soon as we can. In the meantime, where are you looking, or what area are you looking in? And a lot of times they come back and say, please don't call me, I'm just looking. You know, and so, sometimes less is more. Like, I'm still going to keep calling you, even if you tell me not to call you.
I know, that's where I said, if like sometimes you can shut the door on yourself just by what you say, like, hey, can I call you later? No, don't call me. Okay, well, now you can't call them.
Yeah.
Right? So what you don't know can't hurt you until they tell you. Don't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Allie, was it helpful today?
Yes, very helpful. Thank you to both you ladies for answering all my questions. Being a beginner, I'm excited to use Agent Locator to the best of its ability. So I'm ready to just hit the ground running. I want to be like
I'm
Bev.
looking forward to your testimonies of conversations.
Yes, after I leave you, I'm going to call Nolene. So fingers
All right.
crossed.
Perfect.
Awesome. And I'll see you all in 2 weeks again.
Sounds good. Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks
you.
everyone.
Have a great
Bye.
day. It was great meeting you, Allie. Bye.